Born Gloria St. Clair Hayes in Baltimore, Maryland on May 22, 1922, she moved to Cambridge, Maryland in 1931 with her parents. She gained an appreciation for politics from her grandfather, who was the first African-American city councilman in Cambridge. In the fall of 1938, she attended Howard University, where she studied sociology. During her college years, Gloria participated in demonstrations against racial discrimination. After graduating, she returned to Cambridge, where she married Harry Richardson. Although college educated, Richardson was unable to gain employment as a social worker in the town because of racial discrimination. It's been said a little child shall lead them. Motivated by her daughter Donna's participation with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, known as SNCC, Richardson agreed to lead the Cambridge Nonviolent Action Committee, known as CNAC. This fearless leader applied some of her grandfather's philosophies and techniques to the organization, believing it is the responsibility of blacks to give back to their communities. She created a network of officers and board members with the residents of the Second Ward. In 1962, Gloria Richardson led a civil rights movement unlike any movement during that era. CNAC shined a light on the disparities in the African American community. The activists recognized the full picture. It was more than racial segregation that separated African Americans from the larger white community. She understood inhabitable housing, employment discrimination, and poor health care were the source of frustration in the African American community. Her vision and tenacity inspired and motivated young people in the Second Ward to march and protest for equality. Taking criticism from both sides, they wouldn't back down or be turned away. The CNAC refused to accommodate federal and local officials by suspending protests in exchange for their pledge to amend the town. Richardson's resilience and determination helped forge relationships with the important people who helped facilitate change that was desperately needed. After 9 hours, Richardson negotiated an agreement with the federal government unlike any movement before. In the past, the Kennedy administration was able to settle unrest with the promise of change. The Treaty of Cambridge was different. The agreement met most of the demands made by CNAC to help end segregation, housing, and unemployment issues. The agreement went beyond promises and proposals. It committed the federal government to promoting racial reform on a larger scale than ever before. The reform was the beginning of a change in the community. It brought a sense of normalcy back to the town. And CNAC kept up their end of the agreement and ceased demonstrations. Richardson resigned from CNAC during the summer of 1964. We honor and celebrate the courageous leadership and commitment of Gloria Richardson Dandridge during the civil rights movement of the 1960s. During a time of racial segregation, Gloria became one of the strongest advocates for economic rights as well as desegregation. Eastern Shore Network for Change and our strategic partners for Reflections on Pine, the City of Cambridge, Dorchester County, and the state of Maryland is proud to join in honoring Gloria Richardson Dandridge for her contributions in the fight to achieve racial equality during a defining era of our nation's struggle for civil rights for all.
Ain't gonna let nobody, Lordy, turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody, Lordy, turn me round. Keep on a walking, Lordy, keep on a talking, Lordy, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let segregation, Lordy, turn me round, turn me round.